just something every day, it's something you hear very often, isn't it? What have you learned recently or relearned perhaps in a different way?
It's your turn to go first.
That riding in fishnets is more comfortable than you'd think it would be. Okay, so here's one for you, and this is very specific, and I don't know, so this is still something that I'm wrestling with. What have horses sort of recently taught me or shown me? I hope this answer's allowed, because it's not a horse, but it's a mule. So I've got a mule because in our little weird horsemanship world, there's a bit of a weird thing. So for you guys that compete, it's the Olympics. For us, if you can train a horse, can you train a mule? Like, I'm not even joking. It's like a thing. Like, a lot of the big people go, they train horses, and then you do a mule, and everyone's like, okay, you can do it. So I've got a mule. He's called Nacho. He's amazing. He's stripy. So I tell everybody it's his horse, and they blooming believe me. And I'm at a point now where, like you say, with the online program and stuff, I know my process. I know what I'm going to do. I've got the plan. So I got the mule out. I'm like, you're just like a horse with big ears. Let's go. No. And what he taught me was stop looking for progress now. Just enjoy it. Make it fun. Make it lighthearted. And then wait for the progress tomorrow. Like, to the point where the first session I spent with him, I was trying to teach him a hindquarter yield, and I swear to goodness, I couldn't get the blooming thing to move. Like, he just was not really, like, we kind of got a few steps, and I'm stood at home in the arena teaching him, thinking, I'm so glad I didn't accept a mule on a clinic before this, because I'd look ridiculous. And then brought him out the next day, and was like, right, come on, let's carry on. Now, the first sign I'd say is I knew I'd not failed on my first step, because the mule, he's only a baby, he's never really been worked, and I had to trek to the back end of the field to catch him on the first day. The second day, he was stood at the gate. Took him into the arena, just picked up the stick, started to move it towards his hind end, moved. Other side, moved. And he just taught me it's that you keeping it light-hearted and fun and not looking for that visible progress today. Because now that mule waits every day by the gate for me to work him. Because I could have fallen out with him, couldn't I? Do you know what I mean? We could have gone for that old style of horsemanship. Level 1 pressure and increase it to level 10 until the horse moves and da-da-da. But then there's no way he'd be waiting at the gate for me. And so it's that whole idea of enjoying training a horse, not enjoying having a trained horse, is such a big thing.
There's an old Ray Hunt saying that a mule is just like a horse, only more so.
I've heard you have to treat a mule the way you know you should treat a horse.
Yeah, which means, you know, a horse will take less than, you know, suboptimal training and still make you feel pretty good about yourself, but a mule will not.
Maybe everybody should have to train a mule. Maybe it would teach us all some things. I mean, I think that every day they just remind you that they are all individuals, they are all people, and they all need treating as such. I think, you know, at the minute it's been a little bit quieter with the big competitions, and I've been taking the young ones out, and it is that reminder again that, you know, first time out when they haven't seen anything and it's all a bit leery and scary. Neck strap on. But no, it is, you know, just remembering that process and their different ways of learning as well. Just like people have different ways of learning, horses have different ways of learning. And, you know, sometimes you have to hold the hand. Sometimes you have to say, come on, get on with it. It actually does need doing at the minute. And different horses respond in different ways. And that's a lesson that we all have every day, I think, really.
Anything to add, Warwick?
No, really, you know, what Becky said, it's about, and Ben said something about being present too, but, you know, you cannot figure out what this horse needs if you assume, you know, make an assumption you know what this horse needs. You've got to be present and listening, and if something doesn't work, you kind of got to take a step back and okay, what else can I try? And that's, you know, you've got to be in the moment to do that. You just can't have an agenda.
You have, and it's not always the logical solution. You know, we had a young stallion out that actually my stable rider Anna was riding. We were just talking earlier, you know, I'm a very, very big believer in playing to people's strengths. And I would absolutely put my hand up and say that I do not give a young horse a good experience at its first show because I'm papping my pants. So I let Anna get on and I stand at the side and I'm like, give it a pat, kick on, you're fine. And Anna does it and it's absolutely brilliant. Whereas I get on and I'm like, ooh, you're okay. And the horse is like, what's even wrong? What's wrong? So, you know, I'd always much rather... you know, that Anna got on and did that. And actually I have competed this horse, but he was at stud for quite a while and he hadn't done anything. So I was like, Burnsy, you can get on and take this one out for the first time again. And he was actually he was a little bit nervous and he was being a little tricky with her in the warm-up and he kept stopping and being spooky and, you know, sort of threatening a little bit back and up. And she was almost she was sort of letting go of the contact and saying, no, you're okay, go on, go forward. And actually, in the end, I was riding him in the second test. And, you know, he didn't need you to say, you're okay, I'm giving the rein, let's try and go. He needed you to say, I've got you. I've got hold of this contact. We're keeping this connection between the two of us. It's all right. Off you go. And he did. And he was so much more comfortable. But he actually needed you to take hold and take control of the situation rather than leave it to him to work out, whereas some horses need to work it out a little bit. So, you know, that was a reminder just recently of that thing of you have to read the situation and the horse and what the horse needs at that point in time.
Yeah, I think that the doing... You know, once you can ride relatively well, the doing of stuff's not hard. It's the figuring out which of the doings to do is the hard thing. It's like we've only got 2 arms and 2 legs and 2 arse cheeks sort of thing. You know, we can all do the things for the most part. I think the difference between people who are really successful and not so successful is the decisions they make in the moment. And that, you know, that comes from not knowing what you're going to do, but being able to read that horse.
But I always say to people that I'm coaching, you have to be a problem solver. You know, and when things don't work, you just have to be like, okay, that's not working. What else can I do that might work? But it's also, you know, sometimes you start something and you're like, no, this isn't working. But actually it was, you just needed to see it through. And, you know, that's one of the other biggest sort of light bulb moments that I've had with David, who I was speaking about earlier. And one of his biggest philosophies, which has become one of mine, is that you are better to do the wrong thing with confidence than the right thing with none. Because if you don't believe in what you're doing, even if you're doing the right thing, it won't work because the horse isn't getting that positive commitment from you. Whereas if you do the wrong thing, you'll work it out and the horse will forgive you because you know you're not doing the wrong thing in wrong thing, but you might try something that doesn't quite work, but you'll work it out and then you learn, you know. And I think it's that process that we all have to remember. You learn by making mistakes sometimes, and that is such an important part. And also the horse learns by making mistakes, and that doesn't need punishment. It needs repeat and, you know, and re-education. But it's the same with riders. You learn by making mistakes. You should never be afraid of making a mistake because actually that is how you learn so much.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
So I have a great little story I like to tell at clinics just about that. I couldn't agree with you more. So let's imagine that all of us in here are in a business, we're in a big business and we're having a board meeting and we're coming up with our next big idea for our company. And everybody here gives ideas, and either your idea is snapped up or part of your idea is, oh, Deborah, yeah, no, the first part, bit mad, but that bit at the end, loved it. Yeah, Sally, yours, all of it, that's going in. And then we got Bob. Bob sat here. And every time Bob even tries to speak, no, that's awful. No, terrible. Well, eventually, it don't take long. Bob stops speaking. Well, if you're trying to teach a horse to do anything, let's pick a random thing, let's say like a flying change. You're trying to teach a horse to do a flying change. And maybe sometimes it's a, bit late behind or goes a bit disunited or whatever.
Ben, it's either late behind or not late behind. It's not a bit late behind.
If it changes eventually and you can edit it correctly with the correct video angle, it's fine. Right. So, a bit late behind. And the idea being that they have to be able to mess up, otherwise they're going to stop trying. The other way I'd look at it is, if I said to you there are 5 doors, there's a prize behind one of them. Go and check. You'd be like, oh, amazing. And you'd go through all of them, where it's like, there are 5 doors, there's £100 behind one of them. Every time you get the wrong door, I'm going to punch you in the face. You'll be like, it's 100 quid, mate, it's not worth it, I'm fine. And it's that same idea of you have to show the horse you will get much further praising what is right than correcting what is overly wrong. Because it's that idea of ingenuity. Your horse didn't know how to do a trot to canter transition with a rider on it for the first time before it happened. But it had to be bold enough to try. And all of it boils down to as simple things like that. It doesn't matter how complex the exercise or final pattern is. Everything's as simple as those first things your horse learned, but now it's just learning more complex things in the same way that, even now, all of us, I know all of us sat on stage, and I assume all of you there, I'm 31 now, I'm still 8 years old when I'm learning something new and it freaks me out. That doesn't change, and it's trying to maintain that in us. And fight for the power of the flying changes can be a bit late.
I won't have it, sorry.
Anything to add?
What was the question?
Something you've learned or relearned recently when we're told that horses teach us something every day.
Pretty much what both these guys said. But earlier in the year, I learnt something that I didn't know. Was I did a 500-kilometre survival race in Patagonia on horseback called the Gaucho Derby. It's insane. But every day on that race, I learnt that horses are capable of climbing up and down things that we didn't think they could climb up and down with a rider on. And Ben mentioned Dan James before, a friend of mine from Australia, lives in America. Amazing horseman, and he was on it with me too, and he was just like, we got separated at the start line, didn't see each other for 5 days, but we did see each other. These horses, every day they just tell you how capable a horse that hasn't been bred off into a corner for a specific human ego thing, but real horses. These are the horses the gauchos ride. They grow up in this area, and they are such amazing creatures who can do. And a horse should never be lame. If those horses aren't lame, Patagonia is a pole of rocks. If those horses aren't lame, there shouldn't be lame horses.